My boyfriend and I had only been dating for about 2 months when we got the positive test. We have now been dating for about 9 months. He has made it clear that he never wanted kids and has been struggling with prenatal anxiety, but has made it clear that he would like to be involved in the baby's life. As two 20-something-year-olds and first-time parents, these baby showers will help us both financially to make things work the best we can. It has been a really hard pregnancy, and it is just getting more difficult to work full-time as I get further along. We had previously considered living together upon knowing the circumstances, but for financial and personal reasons, our daughter will be staying full-time with me at my parents' house, which ended up being our only option for the time being. My due date is August 1st, and his lease for his apartment with his current roommates ends on December 1st. It is important to know that he has two sets of parents, a stepmom and biological father that live together, and a biological mother and stepdad. My boyfriend's stepmom, let's call her Jay, is married to his biological father. They hosted a baby shower for me on June 1st. This baby shower was mostly for this side of the family, his aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, and great-grandparents. We received so many wonderful gifts, and the baby shower was lovely. Something strange happened at the end of the shower. Jay and his biological mother started hurriedly putting the gifts away in her closet. I was confused because me and my boyfriend had discussed what we were going to do with the gifts after the party, and we both agreed we would put as many gifts as possible in his car to not make it weird with his relatives, and any bigger items would go in my parents' SUV. The whole thing seemed weird to me, and the people that were still there sat in silence as they hurriedly shuffled gifts away. I felt so small and like I couldn't do anything. I was in his parents' house, surrounded by his relatives. My boyfriend said he thought that she was just moving them out of the way when I asked him about it. This seemed weird also. Why were the gifts just not brought to the cars? Jay came up to me when she was about halfway done putting the gifts away and told me, "Don't worry, I'm just putting the gifts away so I can make returns if there are duplicates, exchanges, and thank yous on your behalf," and went back to quickly stashing away the gifts. I received no duplicates at the shower except for 2 swings. But even then, why do I not get to pick which swing I want out of the 2? This is where we both made a mistake. With us both being equally confused and tired from the festivities, we left with no gifts. His family was just as you would imagine, a 22-year-old's baby shower to go, littered with comments such as, "Get ready for your life to end," or "Say goodbye to your free time." Pretty much the usual hassling that people receive from relatives regardless of age, which had just made things so much worse with his anxiety already about being a first-time dad. I found out later that she had decided that she would keep the gifts at her house without talking to me or my boyfriend. She chose to put them in her closet without even letting one of us know that's what she planned to do. I got a text from Jay about a week later telling me she had gotten everything split up between us. I just got more confused. Do they not know she will be living with me full-time? Turns out Jay didn't agree with our living situation and told my boyfriend she was scared that I would just rush off with the gifts and keep his daughter away from him. His stepmom and dad wanted to make sure he had something. After trying time and time again to explain our situation to them, and that if we were to move out together, it would be in December or later. He works full-time. He hasn't worked at his current job long enough to qualify for paternity leave, meaning I will be with her full-time on my maternity leave, night and day. He wants to see her every time he can, after work, on weekends, etc. Right now, with our combined incomes, we just can't afford to move in together. When Jay had sent her son to drop off the baby shower gifts, I immediately noticed there were 2 big-ticket items missing. A swing, I received 2, and a pack and play. I planned on returning one of the swings and buying a car seat or crib. Both gifts were about $400. After noticing this, I got really suspicious. What else did she take from us? Jay had her daughter make a detailed thank you list with every gift given, which I use as a checklist for every item given to me. The stepmom had taken and withheld about 2/3 of the gifts. Every time he tries to speak to his family about this, they give him another excuse. We were scared her family was going to run off with the gifts. To where? My family's house, where at least she will be staying full-time for the time being. We wanted to make sure you had something. It just seems like she's running off with a bunch of free stuff and abandoning you. Or my personal favorite, why is your girlfriend being so materialistic? It's obvious she plans to leave. I've gone out of my way to build good relationships with his entire family, and it hurts to know that's what they really think of me. I think the funniest part about all of it is the fact that he specifically said he didn't want anything from the showers baby-wise, except for a car seat. It's like his family expects me to withhold the gifts from him, or like we aren't two adults that can make decisions for our own child. They're not just keeping the gifts from me, the girl their son knocked up, but they are actively breaking my trust as the mother of their unborn grandchild. Just a few examples of confiscated gifts include lactation pads, breast milk storage bags, newborn diapers. All of the ones I received were taken. Actually splitting and opening packs of onesies between us. Cards and return receipts included with the gifts. Gift cards, bottles, newborn onesies. She even took a breast pump from me. Because she was splitting things up, I feel sick knowing that she kept literal diapers from us, and items only I would ever use. Regardless of our living situation, Jay made me feel like every gift given to us was conditional, like it had to be earned or begged for until she got her way. It felt like a toddler throwing a fit that things weren't exactly the way she wanted them. I've thought through every possible reason about why someone would do what she did. Is it because Jay's daughter just found out she's pregnant? Is she keeping the gifts for her daughter? Is it about the money when she is already so well off? Is it an attempt to control us both? Or does she really think she's doing the right thing? On some level or another, I understand some random girl he knocked up won't have the same level of trust that her stepson has. But why does she get to choose what is the right thing for him to do? I understand it looks weird that she is living with me full-time for the time being, but we literally have no other choice. It's not like his parents are offering him a spare bedroom. They don't want to make solutions to the living space. They just want to control it. I can't afford anything better. It makes me feel like a horrible person already, that I can't give my daughter a better life. And all of their judgment just made me feel so much worse. I'm trying my best to make the circumstances work. I love my daughter and want her to have everything she needs to the best of my ability. At the end of the day, I just don't understand, even if she was splitting things up between us. Why were breast milk storage bags and lactation pads taken from me? Why did I not get to keep the nice onesies with the zippers, or get to pick out which swing I wanted? Why does Jay get to pick and choose what we each need for a child? Why don't I get to own the breast pump? They are literally my breasts. This entire situation has just made me feel so small. It feels like I can't do anything at all. I feel so frustrated and like this is the worst way to manipulate someone, by withholding non-conditional gifts from a literal unborn child. I have another baby shower coming up with his other side of the family. His biological mother and stepdad are hosting this one. Knowing his biological mother helped his stepmom bring the gifts into her closet and helped to withhold them from us, I am just so anxious. If they are trying to control both of our lives now, and the lives of an unborn child, what about when she's here? My entire pregnancy, they have told me horrible things such as, you need to stop taking your parents' money and sign up for government daycare. I work full-time and pay rent to my parents, or you're making it so much more difficult for each other by not moving in together. And of course, all of the usual unwanted pregnancy advice and comments about different things. Usually the first thing people ask me is whether or not I'm planning to breastfeed, even strangers. And the random belly rubs from absolute strangers are even worse. The last thing I need is comments from people I actually know. My boyfriend feels indifferent to the situation. On one hand, he understands why they did it and isn't angry. On another hand, he realizes this is them being controlling towards us and is literally telling us exactly how they will be when she is here. Regardless if it's in his best interest, he shouldn't have decisions made on his behalf by his parents as a moved-out adult without even a heads up. I do have 3 more baby showers, one with the other side of his extended family, one with my side of the family, and one with my friends/coworkers. He tells me not to worry because I have 3 more showers, but what I keep trying to tell him is I just can't rely on those people to buy everything we need. What if we needed the extra money from returns to buy something super essential? I don't even have a crib, a car seat, a dresser, a changing table topper. Now I don't even have diapers. I cannot possibly depend on 3 or more people to spend upwards of $100 reasonably. These might be the only big gifts we receive that we could return for something else. We need more. He's told me that growing up, they made him feel like he was just there, and he didn't have a good relationship with his stepmom for a long time over how controlling he was growing up. It makes me sad that she made a little kid feel like he wasn't as valued as her biological children. Even when he became older, she did this, like paying the full amount for her biological children to go on vacations, Disney, etc. But if he wanted to go, it became conditional. He had to pay for the plane ticket if he wanted to go to California beaches, while her biological children got a full ride. I'm scared Jay is just going to do this again to my daughter, now that her biological family member is carrying a grandchild too. It's such a complicated situation, and I am so lost on what to do. Every answer makes me feel materialistic or selfish for wanting these gifts, but I wouldn't be able to afford them otherwise. Obviously, if he wanted to, the gifts from his family he is more than welcome to keep, but they were supposed to be for both of us, for our unborn child. It feels like I'm going through a divorce trying to split our assets. Why did his family have to make it so weird for me? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, boyfriend needs to gather his courage. He needs to go talk to his dad. I'm assuming the stuff is at his house, and tell him he's there to pick up the stuff. Maybe it's best if he does this while his stepmom is out. Then he walks to the closet and starts collecting the stuff. If dad stops him, boyfriend needs to remind him that these are gifts that were given to his granddaughter who is about to be born. As the baby's father, your boyfriend gets to decide what happens to them. He also gets to decide who can see this baby and be involved in her life. You shouldn't be involved in this at all, though you'll probably be blamed. Comment 2. When you write the thank you notes, say, "Thank you for the lovely gift. Unfortunately, the baby will not be able to enjoy it because Jay stole it and will not return it." But I'm petty like that. You could also file a police report. Tell the police that these gifts were given to you and this person, who is neither pregnant nor someone who will be watching your child, refuses to return them. Tell your boyfriend he needs to step up and go get the gifts back because his stepmom just stole from your child. Now, for the update. Thank you for all the comments from the last post. So, a lot has happened since then. After the baby shower fiasco, things got even more complicated. My boyfriend and I had a huge argument about the gifts. He was trying to stay neutral, but I felt like he wasn't standing up for us. It was frustrating because I felt like I was fighting this battle alone. Eventually, he did talk to his stepmom, but it didn't go well. She doubled down on her stance, saying she was just trying to help and that I was being ungrateful. It was a mess. A few weeks later, we had another baby shower, this time hosted by his biological mother and stepdad. I was really anxious about it, given what had happened with Jay. Surprisingly, the shower went smoothly. We got a lot of useful items, and his biological mom seemed genuinely happy for us. But then, a few days later, I got a call from her. She said she wanted to discuss the gifts. My heart sank. I thought we were going to go through the same thing all over again. When I met with her, she told me she was worried about our living situation. She said she didn't think it was fair for my boyfriend to be left out, and that she wanted to keep some of the gifts at her house for when he had the baby. I tried to explain that our daughter would be living with me full time, and that he would see her as much as possible, but she wasn't having it. She insisted on keeping some of the bigger items, like the crib and the stroller. I was furious, but felt powerless to argue. Around this time, my boyfriend's anxiety was getting worse. He was having panic attacks and couldn't sleep. He finally went to see a therapist, which was a big step for him. The therapist suggested that his family's behavior was a big trigger for his anxiety. This was a wake-up call for him. He started to see how controlling his family was being, and how it was affecting both of us. He decided to set some boundaries with them, which was a huge relief for me. But then, something unexpected happened. My boyfriend's biological father reached out to me, and he said he wanted to apologize for how his wife had handled the baby shower gifts. He admitted that they had overstepped and offered to return everything they had taken. I was shocked but grateful. We met up, and he gave me back most of the items, including the breast pump and the diapers. It felt like a small victory. However, the relief was short-lived. My boyfriend's stepmom found out about the meeting and was livid. She accused me of manipulating her husband and trying to drive a wedge between them. She even went as far as to say that I was trying to trap her stepson with the baby. It was hurtful and completely untrue. My boyfriend tried to mediate, but it only made things worse. His stepmom stopped speaking to both of us, and his dad was caught in the middle. Meanwhile, my own family was getting more involved. My mom was furious about how my boyfriend's family was treating me. She wanted to confront them, but I asked her not to. I didn't want to escalate things any further. Instead, she suggested that we focus on preparing for the baby and not let the drama consume us. It was good advice, but easier said than done. As my due date approached, I started to feel more and more stressed. I was worried about how things would be once the baby arrived. Would my boyfriend's family try to control how we raised her? Would they respect our boundaries? These questions kept me up at night. My boyfriend was supportive, but I could tell he was struggling too. He felt torn between his family and me, and it was taking a toll on him. Then, about a month before my due date, we had a breakthrough. My boyfriend's therapist suggested that we all sit down for a family meeting with a mediator. It was a daunting idea, but we decided to give it a try. The meeting was tense, but it was also productive. We were able to express our feelings and set some clear boundaries. His stepmom was resistant at first, but eventually she agreed to back off a bit. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. After the meeting, things started to improve. My boyfriend and I felt more united, and his anxiety began to lessen. We focused on getting everything ready for the baby. My family was incredibly supportive, helping us with last-minute preparations and offering emotional support. It felt like we were finally on the same page. As for my boyfriend's family, things are still a bit strained, but there's been progress. His stepmom has been more respectful of our decisions, and his dad has been more supportive. We still have our disagreements, but we're learning to navigate them better. It's not perfect, but it's manageable. Looking back, I realize how much this experience has taught us. We've learned to communicate better and to stand up for ourselves. We've also learned the importance of setting boundaries and not letting others dictate our lives. It's been a tough journey, but I feel like we're stronger because of it. Thank you for reading. Am I the idiot for telling my wife to cancel her vacation? When we're struggling financially, I'll try to keep this short. Both in our 30s and have been together for 17 years. I, male in my 30s, am the sole provider for my family of 6, partner and 4 kids, 2 high-energy dogs. I work 5 days a week and sometimes work on weekends if we need a little more cash. My partner is a stay-at-home mom and hasn't worked since our eldest was born by her own choice. I wake up at 5 a.m. and take the dogs out, prepare the kids' lunches/snacks, ensure all school essentials such as bags are at the front door, then head to work in a physically demanding job. Kids are picked up for daycare school at 7. Due to after-school activities and clubs, they're not home until 6. I come home at 7 and make dinner most nights, help with homework, do bath time for the little ones, do dishes, take the dogs out for a longer walk again, put the little ones in bed. If the house is a mess, I will of course clean it. I pay for everything: mortgage, bills, insurance, groceries, clothes, toys, technology, after-school activities, dates, and a woman to deep clean the house once a month. My partner wants to go on a 2-week-long vacation with her friends, which will overlap with the weekend away I had planned with my brother, who I rarely get to see as we live so far away. She wants me to cancel my trip as she's tired and needs a break. We got into an argument over it in which unkind things were said on both sides, but I am unwilling to budge on this. How do I get through to her that I need some rest? TLDR. I pay for everything, do housework, childcare, etc. While my wife is a stay-at-home mom, she wants to go on a 2-week-long vacation with her friends, which means I won't be able to go on a weekend trip with my brother, which was planned well in advance. We argued in which she told me I need to help out more, and I basically said what's in the title. How do I get through to her to add, "Hello all, sorry I haven't replied to many comments, but I have read most of them. I've seen a couple of questions I'd like to answer, and figured that making a post would be better than replying to individual comments. My children are between 16 and 6 years old. My wife doesn't take anyone to their clubs/activities. Younger children's school finishes at 3 p.m. Their clubs are in the school. Older kids' school finishes at 3:30. They stay in a club until 4:30, and then go to a youth group with their cousins until they come home. My eldest makes their way to and from school on their own, while my youngest are picked up and dropped off. Kids are, of course, able to eat breakfast at home, but often enjoy eating with their friends before school starts at 8. My wife doesn't walk the dogs because she doesn't like to, and frankly, they don't like her. I enjoy my time walking the dogs because it allows me some time to think. We have a large yard with dog houses, toys, and some agility equipment for them to use while I'm gone. They also get mental stimulation through Kongs and puzzle toys, which have been prepared and stored in the freezer. What does my wife do all day? Honestly, she's not isolated. She often tells me about things she's done with her friends, sister, mother, etc. She goes to the gym, does and enjoys hobbies such as embroidery, knitting, and some jewelry design. She changes what she likes to do, says it keeps things fresh. Housework-wise, she does the laundry. I fold and distribute later. She will give the dogs water and prepared meals in Richmond. We have those robot vacuums and air purifiers to deal with the dog hair. But my wife will vacuum if needed. I wipe countertops, put dishes in the dishwasher after meals. Older kids take care of their own rooms/bathrooms for an allowance. Have you ever not truly noticed something until it's right in front of your face? I was so mad because I wanted to go see my brother, and she wanted to go on vacation with her friends. Yes, she wants me to pay for it. And things have been like this for so long that I didn't see how unfair and imbalanced things were until I truly started to look at how our duties were distributed. You all have given me a lot to think about. I'll answer some comments later. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Maybe you let her go for 2 weeks, realize that you don't need her in your life, that the family doesn't miss her, and you have divorce papers ready when she returns. The dynamic between you is not likely to change. Nobody in her shoes adopts a lazy, do-nothing, no-responsibilities lifestyle, then agrees to share all the duties and responsibilities without a life shock. Comment 2. So she is free from 6 p.m. almost every day. Dude, why are you doing most of the heavy lifting here? This is nuts and unbalanced if this is real. I can't even imagine. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the feedback on my last post. So, after our argument, things got even more tense at home. My wife was giving me the cold shoulder, and I was just trying to keep everything running smoothly. I decided to sit down with her and have a serious talk about our responsibilities and how we could make things more balanced. I thought maybe if we could come to some sort of agreement, we could avoid more conflict. But before I could even bring it up, something happened that forced my hand. On Monday, I got a call from my boss. He told me that the company was going through some financial difficulties and that they were going to have to cut back on hours. This meant that I would be working fewer hours and bringing home less money. I was already stressed out about everything at home, and this news just added to my anxiety. I knew I had to tell my wife, but I was dreading it. I knew she would be upset, and I wasn't sure how she would react. When I got home that evening, I sat her down and told her about the situation at work. As expected, she was not happy. She started to panic about how we were going to pay the bills and keep up with everything. I tried to reassure her that we would find a way to make it work, but she was already spiraling. She started talking about how she needed her vacation even more now because of the added stress. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Here I was, trying to figure out how to keep our family afloat, and she was still focused on her trip. I told her that we needed to put the vacation on hold until we figured out our finances. She got really upset and accused me of not caring about her needs. I tried to explain that it wasn't about not caring, but about being practical and responsible. She wasn't having it. She stormed off and locked herself in our bedroom. I was left standing there, feeling completely helpless and frustrated. The next day, I decided to take a half day off work to try and sort things out. I picked up the kids from school and took them to the park to give my wife some space. While we were there, I had a chance to talk to my eldest. I asked how they were feeling about everything and if they had noticed the tension at home. They told me that they had noticed and that it was making them anxious. They also mentioned that they felt like they were taking on more responsibilities than they should be, given their age. This hit me hard. I realized that the imbalance in our household was affecting everyone, not just me. When we got home, I sat down with my wife again. This time, I was more firm. I told her that we needed to come up with a plan to redistribute the responsibilities and that we needed to do it together. I also told her that I couldn't keep doing everything on my own and that it was affecting our kids. She seemed to understand, but I could tell she was still upset about the vacation. I suggested that we could plan a smaller, more affordable trip for the whole family once things settled down. She reluctantly agreed. Over the next few days, we worked on a new schedule. We divided up the household chores more evenly and made sure that everyone, including the kids, had specific tasks. My wife agreed to take on more responsibilities like cooking dinner a few nights a week and helping with the kids' homework. I also made sure to carve out some time for myself, even if it was just an hour in the evening to relax and unwind. Things started to improve, but it wasn't easy. There were still moments of tension and frustration, but we were making progress. I could see that my wife was trying, and that meant a lot to me. I also made an effort to be more present and involved with the kids, which helped to ease their anxiety. One evening, while we were cleaning up after dinner, my wife opened up to me about why she'd been so insistent on the vacation. She told me that she'd been feeling overwhelmed and isolated, even though she spent time with her friends and family. She said that she felt like she had lost a sense of herself, and that the vacation was a way for her to reconnect with who she used to be. This was a revelation for me. I realized that she wasn't just being selfish. She was struggling with her own issues and trying to find a way to cope. I shared with her that I had been feeling the same way. I told her that I missed spending time with my brother and that I felt like I was losing myself in the daily grind. We both agreed that we needed to find a way to support each other and make time for ourselves, even if it meant making some sacrifices. As we continued to talk, we started to come up with a plan for how we could both get the breaks we needed without putting too much strain on our family. We decided that we would each take a weekend away, one at a time, while the other stayed home with the kids. This way, we could both recharge and come back feeling more balanced and ready to tackle our responsibilities. In the end, we didn't have all the answers, but we were making progress. We were communicating more openly and working together to find solutions. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about our future. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for refusing to take back my ex? After he canceled our wedding over a shirt argument. Thanks to everyone for the comments and support. Since all this happened, he apologized profusely and offered to return the venue and still go and get married on the same day. He also offered couples counseling starting now and right after we get married if I still want to. He also offered to go on the trip together to fix things. I declined everything since the damage has been done, and I decided to go on the honeymoon myself while he packs all his items. He's going to start his own therapy journey while we're broken up. I don't know what's next, but this hurts so much because we still love each other. He's going to work on his mental health to address the impulsive actions when he's upset. He also realized it wasn't actually a communication issue, but rather how he felt attacked due to his own confidence. I appreciate his honesty, but can't see how it's possible to forgive what happened. So, my ex-fiancé, 30-year-old male, has canceled our 30-year-old female wedding a week before it is taking place. We've been together for about 6 years and lived together for context. What happened basically was an argument that escalated. We were heading to my program graduation. It's a smaller event of about 10 students and some professors from a community college. On that morning, as we were getting ready, I asked if he would be okay to wear one of his button-ups instead of the shirt he had on, so we can get a nice photo. He was annoyed and snapped saying, "Why do I have to do things for others?" And I told him that he truly doesn't have to. I was just asking, but it's ultimately his choice. He ended up putting on the button-up and we arrived at the ceremony. Everything went fine and he was very happy for me. However, on the way home in the car, traffic was filling up and he was annoyed. I offered an alternative route that I know cut some time, and the exit to that route was coming up. He didn't take it, and I was slightly annoyed about it because he was cranky with me about traffic. So I asked why he didn't take it. He started full on yelling that my tone is rude and that he doesn't have to drive the way I tell him to. I replied saying that I literally just asked, and I don't actually care what route he takes. He was the one having a problem with traffic. He blew up and blamed me for getting him upset. When we got home, I apologized and explained that I didn't mean to come across as mean. I also said that screaming doesn't help in any situation and that we should talk instead. He basically explained that an apology doesn't solve anything, and that he needs such things to not happen. Otherwise, he would continue exploding at me because that's the only time I listened to him. After a few hours, we spoke again. He apologized for yelling, and I apologized for the miscommunication that happened. Despite resolving this later that night, I was crying due to the fact that he so easily yells at me when he's upset. I was so upset that even on such an important day for me, I felt like he picked fights. And to add to this, yelling is such a red flag for me, and I never do that to him or anyone for that matter. The next morning, we were having breakfast, and he asked why I seemed gloomy. So I told him that everything's okay. I'm just processing what happened yesterday. He asked me to please share with him, so I told him that I felt like my special day was kind of ruined by fighting about things we could have easily resolved. He immediately just flipped and started getting angry again. He blamed me for the fights, and when I replied that I don't think it's fair to blame me, he got angrier and said that he can't do this, that I'm not a good communicator, and that he cannot get married like this. I was full-on shocked. I thought he was talking out of emotion, like many times before. But this time, he actually ended up sending a mass text to some guests to let them know that the wedding is called off. I was flabbergasted at the quickness and so confused. We started arguing and then had to leave for our days. Later that day when we returned, I asked if this is truly something he wants, to call everything off, and he responded with a confident yes. What I thought was an action out of anger seemed to be solid for him. For the rest of the night and the next day, I tried to fix things between us. After many hours of talking and lots of crying from my end, he kept explaining that I don't communicate well and that this cancellation is my fault. I tried to offer some solutions, but he was firm with the decision to cancel and break up. I asked if we could give it another day or two to ensure this is what he wants. Before we cancel the venue, he declined and asked to cancel the venue and vendors immediately. So we did. The next day I ran errands and then met with my friend. It was truly such a hard day and I was heartbroken, still digesting that this is happening. When I came home, he asked to talk and started crying that he regrets everything he said in the last few days. That he didn't mean it, he was angry and didn't think straight. He said he will start therapy and wanted to do couples counseling now too, after I offered it many times. Anyway, he apologized profusely and kept asking if we can mend everything or if he messed up. I was almost sure this regret would come, and honestly, maybe it was me. But I said, yeah, you messed up big time. You made a rash decision that hurt our relationship big time. There's no going back from here. He pretty much begged for another chance, but everything is canceled and my trust is shattered. The wedding is supposed to be in 2 days. His aunt was supposed to be on the way to our house to help us pack decorations. And now, there's no way we can reschedule everything, and frankly, I don't want to at this point. This is not the first time he cancels plans or breaks up with me during a disagreement. Everyone is telling us that this is fixable, that clearly we love each other, so if we want, this situation doesn't have to be the end of the relationship. But I don't understand how? So much time, effort, and money have gone into this wedding that's now done. And plus, more importantly, I can't trust him anymore. I don't know what to do at this point. We were supposed to go on a honeymoon right after. So now I'm thinking of going by myself. He asked if we can go together and spend that time to fix things, but I'm just questioning everything. I think I prefer going myself to do some soul searching. Should I call it quits and move on with my life, or take his word and start couples counseling? I love him with my entire heart, and we had many loving experiences between us over the years. We don't have any issues aside from such incidents, but I don't know if it's actually possible to come back from this one. Thoughts? Advice? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You may not see or feel this now, but you have dodged a bullet. This guy is a jerk. He is a thin-skinned jackass who yells at you and then manipulates you into feeling like his anger and volatility are your fault. Go read a book, if you will, called Why Does He Do That? By Lundy Bancroft. It might help you make sense of some things. Comment 2. He breaks up with you when you fight? That is not stable or healthy. I would recommend moving on from the relationship and finding one with someone who will not hold the relationship hostage every time you have an issue. You will be amazed once you move on how much better a healthy relationship will be for you. Now, for the update. Thanks to everyone for the comments and support. So, I decided to go on the honeymoon by myself, and it's been, well, I'll just get into it, of emotions and unexpected events. The first couple of days were a mix of sadness and relief. I spent a lot of time just walking around, trying to clear my head. On the third day, I met a woman at the hotel bar who was also traveling alone. We started talking, and it turned out she had gone through a similar situation a few years ago. Her fiancé had called off their wedding just days before it was supposed to happen. She shared her story, and it was eerily similar to mine. We ended up spending a lot of time together, and it was comforting to know that someone else had been through this and come out the other side. While I was away, my ex-fiancé started therapy. He texted me updates about his sessions, saying he was learning a lot about himself and his anger issues. He seemed genuinely committed to changing, but I was still skeptical. One night he called me, and we talked for hours. He was more open and vulnerable than I had ever seen him. He admitted that he had always felt insecure about our relationship, fearing that he wasn't good enough for me. This insecurity, he said, was what fueled his anger and impulsive decisions. I started to see a different side of him, one that was scared and unsure. It made me realize that his actions, while hurtful, were not entirely about me. They were about his own struggles and fears. This revelation didn't make the pain go away, but it did give me a new perspective. On the 5th day of my trip, I received a call from my best friend. She told me that my ex-fiancé had shown up at her house, asking for advice on how to win me back. He was desperate and willing to do anything to fix things. My friend, who had always been supportive of our relationship, told him that he needed to give me space and time to heal. She also told him that actions speak louder than words, and that he needed to prove his commitment through consistent behavior, not just promises. This conversation with my friend made me think about our relationship in a new light. I started to remember the good times, the moments when he was supportive and loving, but I also couldn't forget the times when he had let his anger get the best of him. It was a confusing mix of emotions, and I didn't know what to do. On the last day of my trip, I decided to visit a local temple. It was a peaceful place, and I spent hours there, reflecting on everything that had happened. I realized that I needed to make a decision, not just for myself, but for both of us. I couldn't keep him hanging on, hoping for a reconciliation, if I wasn't sure I wanted that. When I got back home, we met up to talk. He looked different, more composed and calm. He told me about his therapy sessions and how he was learning to manage his anger. He also apologized again, this time with a sincerity that I hadn't seen before. He said he understood if I couldn't forgive him, but he wanted me to know that he was committed to changing, whether we got back together or not. I told him that I needed more time to think. I wasn't ready to make a decision yet, but I appreciated his honesty and effort. We agreed to take things slow and see where they went. He would continue his therapy, and I would focus on healing and figuring out what I wanted. In the meantime, I started seeing a therapist myself. I realized that I had my own issues to work through, including my tendency to avoid conflict and my fear of being alone. These sessions have been eye-opening, and I'm starting to understand myself better. As for the fallout from the canceled wedding, it's been tough. We had to deal with disappointed family members and friends, and there were financial repercussions as well. But the hardest part has been the emotional toll. I've had to confront my own feelings of failure and disappointment, and it hasn't been easy. Looking back, I can see that our relationship had cracks that we both ignored. His anger issues and my avoidance of conflict were a toxic combination. We both have a lot of work to do, individually and together, if we want to make this work. One thing that has become clear to me is that love alone isn't enough. It takes effort, commitment, and a willingness to change. Whether we end up together or not, I know that we both need to grow and learn from this experience. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.